And you get this standard answer, but an answer which I believe is absolutely true, that American foreign policy is designed to satisfy America's particular interests. And I imagine Jamaica's foreign policy is designed to satisfy Jamaica's particular interests as well. So there's nothing indictable about that. But what it does do is that it leaves others who are looking on as observers to say, well, we could understand it more, and if our support was sought, we would perhaps be more prepared to consider it if we saw consistency going through and it does not exist. One of the things that I think all of us have to recognize is the enduring character of the Cuban Revolution. It has endured for a long time, and it ain't about to die. And I think part, I wouldn't say all, but part of what has made it endure this length of time and has made it survive the challenges and the pressures to which it has been exposed has been the integrity of its leadership. I have watched, never agreed with Fidel Castro at all times, but I don't think that anybody has ever been able to question or to challenge his own commitment to the Cuban people and his own commitment to the revolution which he led. And you know, it comes across to you so often when there's a Cuban, for example, who was in Jamaica, I don't know if that person is still here, who I spoke with some years ago. And she spoke about, she was impatient. She wanted to see more reforms, more change, was anxious to see greater democracy and more freedoms and more access to goods and that kind of thing. So she spoke with a certain amount of impatience and was perhaps not particularly pleased with the Cuban administration. She felt that, you know, it was time for them to get wise and get things going. But she spoke with reverence about Fidel Castro. She referred to Fidel Castro as Grandpa and spoke about him as if he was a member of her family. Recently, when I visited Cuba, they took us on a tour of information technology park. I mean, this was a whole village, university village, where they had this massive university focusing on information technology, had their own hospital, everything. And we're talking to some students, one of whom was due to graduate very soon, this year or next year. And I said to him, and it wasn't with other people there, so you could say, well, he's giving me a stock answer. I said to him, I said, well, tell me, when you leave here, what do you plan to do? And he gave me an answer with a sincerity. He says, whatever the revolution wants me to do. So that even the young people, the young generation, who are normally the ones who overturn establishments and who overturn revolutions if revolutions need to be overturned, their commitment is there. That revolution has endured. They speak about the revolution in the same way that the Americans take pride in their revolution, in the same way that the French are proud of their revolution. It's not, to others in the outside world, it may be a dark day in the evolution of Cuba. To them, it was the beginning of the new beginning. And they speak about it with not just pride, but ownership. I think we have a window of opportunity now for a whole range of reasons that have all sort of come together. There has in recent times been increasing interaction between senior American politicians, congressmen and senators, and Cuban officials. I mean, there are many congressmen, senators from both sides, from both the Republican and the Democrats, who have been to Cuba, who have had meetings with Cuban officials, including Fidel Castro before he retired. I'm encouraged by the fact that at least one of the two presidential candidates, Obama, has indicated a willingness to engage. Hasn't gone any further. I think political prudence wouldn't allow him to go any further. But I think it's a profound indication, because I would think that even up to the last presidential election, no candidate would dare make a statement like that. And he has said, I'm willing to engage, with no preconditions. I'm willing to talk. I think it's time when, if I could make a call, perhaps it's time to cool the rhetoric. The revolution doesn't have to be defended and supported every time somebody shout at it. That revolution is solid enough that we don't even need to go there. I'd like to say this, let's cool the rhetoric. Let's begin to prepare the ground for constructive engagement. There is transformation taking place, no question at all about it. Those things have to, let's confine some of those to the history books. I mean, that's for people to find out exactly how we got where we are. And I think that Cuba understands that. Transformation is not a deed. Transformation is a process. And there are some countries where it will take place rapidly. Some countries can do a complete transformation in 5 years. Some countries will take a whole generation. I think what is important is that the pace of that transformation is something that has to be determined by the Cuban people themselves. And I think we who look on and perhaps would like to see that transformation move even faster, we have to understand that this is their decision to make, not ours. I'm impressed with some of the things that certainly the Cuban officials with whom I met indicated. They told me what their constraints were. They told me why they felt they had to move gradually but purposefully in particular areas. And I think it's for the international community to help Cuba in that process, to encourage them in that transformation, and to do so, and in doing so, to even seek to exert influence, but making sure to seek to exert that influence in a non-intrusive way. There are some issues that are going to have to be addressed. Issues such as democracy and fundamental rights are not sovereign issues. These are universal issues. And the international community has embraced those issues, and it has set certain standards. That's what allows us, for example, to be able to condemn what we see going on in Zimbabwe, because there are some standards now that have been universally institutionalized, and we use that as a framework, as a basis for assessing the performance of other countries. But no country is perfect. Countries have areas where they have come up short, where there are deficiencies.